It's been some time since I've given you an update on my boat project Marcelina, and since we talked last, the boat has been moved to inside storage for the winter, and it's located at Shumway Marine in Rochester, New York. The boat shares a space with quite a few other boats indoors. The conditions are good, a little crowded, but there's good lighting and there's access to power, so I can use the power tools. There's also a number of other project boats near mine that are perhaps quite a bit more ambitious than my modest project. In any event, the boat sits there waiting for me each weekend to come and do what I can to move it along. What I have been able to do in the last month or so is remove some of the wet core and expose some of the other core without actually removing it to let it dry for the winter. There are quite a few other sections on the boat, however, that I still need to remove the very top layer of decking to let them dry. Now, down below, the major task is removing the chain plates. And here you can see there's two horizontal steel pieces that mate with the vertical chain plate section, which you see right there. One horizontal piece is right under the deck joint and tow rail above, and the lower section is embedded right in the hull itself. So the task is for both the upper and lower horizontal pieces to get those pieces exposed by cutting away the fiberglass. And here I'm using a Dremel tool, which works great for that particular task. So once all the chain plate that needs to be exposed is exposed, I can go about cutting the pieces, so then eventually I can remove them completely from the boat. Here I'm just using a small circular grinder to cut through the lower horizontal section. Now, because the steel, if it's corroding, will expand and eventually break the fiberglass that's encapsulated within, you got to make sure that whatever steel you're leaving behind is not corroded. Make sure it's in good shape so it doesn't break that fiberglass. Here I'm showing the chain plate for the rear backstay for the mainmast. In this particular case, it's interesting because that backstay actually extends down below the surface of the fiberglass below, which is the top of the fuel tank. So there's one on either side. I'm going to have to drain the fuel and then cut away the top of that tank to expose the chain plate before I can remove it. And up above, because the tow rail is screwed down through the corroded steel plate below, many of the screws that hold the tow rail in place are seized. So here again I'm using the Dremel tool to try to get under the tow rail and cut off those screws. And then there's a lot of them, and it takes a bit of time for each one. To give you an idea, the screws are about every 6 inches for the entire length of the boat on either side. So, once I have the tow rails off, which are now completely removed, and I've cut the chain plates down below the horizontal sections appropriately, they're about ready to be removed. In the process of getting the chain plates, I need to remove a lot of the cabinets, and I'm making a bit of a mess in the process. Oh, and speaking of messes, my boat is parked under a girder in the middle of the storage shed where pigeons roost. And so they're helping me make a further mess of the boat. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updates in the coming weeks. Thanks.